Huh, there we go. Now it works. That's interesting. Now it should be the actual short stream. I was like, why wasn't it working before? There we go. This actually works now. Let me fix this first. Shorts. There we go. See, now, oh, perfect. Now it's actually a short stream. Whereas before, it's just messed up. All right, let's see if this works now. Look at that. Perfect. Awesome. It's actually a short stream now. Okay, well, we're doing a round 2 because the first time the short stream wasn't working. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in again. If you already joined us for the first round of stream, I apologize if this is a repeat for the content. But this is because we're now doing it on YouTube Shorts. So it should look like it's a proper vertical stream, whereas before it wasn't showing up as a vertical one. Okay, so basically what happened was there was a story today published on the Wall Street Journal at 11 a.m. And it's how the Chinese nuclear submarine, the latest one, actually sank back in spring of this year. So from the Wall Street Journal here, it says China's newest nuclear power submarine sank in spring, a major setback for one of the country's priority weapons program, U.S. official says. So the United States, it seems like they know about this. And they know exactly what happened, because otherwise I don't think the Wall Street Journal got their sources from China. So yeah, I definitely don't think they are getting this from China. Maybe they could have gotten it, but I think definitively the sources come from the US officials, probably in the Pentagon. Okay, so now the question talks about how the episode which Chinese authorities scrambled to cover up and hasn't previously been disclosed occurred at a shipyard near Wuhan in late May or early June. So the shipyard is called Wuchang Shipyard. Let me just move this over a little bit. So it's right next to the Yangtze River. So this is the Yangtze River in Wuhan. Hey guys, thanks for joining. If you're just watching this or if you came back, this is now the short stream. So we did a regular horizontal stream. We're now doing a vertical stream. Okay, so this is the shipyard. Now through the Yangtze River, they can carry this submarine to the Pacific Ocean, right? To be deployed. But here, take a look at this photo. So this is the photo that shows the submarine that has sunk. And it was interesting because online I saw this one here. So this is a tweet. And they shows that if you put the two pictures side by side, people are speculating that more than one submarine could have sunk. The live feed, yeah, so this is supposed to be a short stream. So this is supposed to be a short stream, by the way. From Thanawa says, how legitimate do you think the sources are? I think it's legitimate. For the Wall Street Journal to do this, I think it's legitimate. I don't think there's a reason for them to do this just for sakes of views, right? I think this is definitely a legitimate case of this. So there are speculations that there could be more than one. Who knows? What we know right now from the U.S. official is just that it's just one, okay? And the other question is, the U.S. doesn't know if the submarine was carrying nuclear fuel at the time it sank, but experts outside the U.S. government said that it was likely. So this tells me that speculating on what type of submarine it could be. One of the possibility, which I got a question from, is possibly nuclear attack submarine. So the nuclear reactor is, carrying the nuclear fuel, but it might not be a nuclear missile, which is a strategic nuclear submarine. That is where they carry the strategic warheads, right? Did I? Savala says, no, you posted a short video, not a live stream in the shorts feed. I'm not so sure. Are you referring to the one I posted this morning? From Masoy1234 says, hey, David Zhang, what are you looking at? And I'm looking at chat. So my screen here is the chat. I can show you this. If I move my little camera here, I can show you. So I'm looking at the chat here. That's what I'm looking at. So it looks like I'm looking away from you guys, but actually I'm looking at chat. So that's why I'm moving away from it. What are your thoughts on Aksai Chin? Is it Chinese part or Indian part? I don't really know exactly the part, but I'm sure that's under dispute, right? Okay, so one of the reasons why China is so focused on the nuclear submarine is actually that it's one of the only thing that can stop the United States from their perspective. So one of the areas that's very important for people to understand is that, so this is Taiwan, this is Manila, this is the Philippines. Between Taiwan and the Philippines is a little gap here. Take a look at the depth of the ocean, right? So to the top here near China, it's pretty shallow by comparison. Down up here, the East China Sea is also relatively shallow, okay? And then when you talk about the islands here, so all of these islands belong to Japan, right? They've got, radar stations set up on these islands right here. And the only way in which China's nuclear submarines could go undetected and get into the rest of the Pacific Ocean is through this part called the Bashi Channel. That's why one of the real strategic purpose of taking Taiwan, aside from all the other ones, is so that it unlocks the Pacific Ocean for China, because they can now send the submarines through the ports of Hainan to the Philippine Sea, and in turn, across the Pacific Ocean. This is Hawaii right here, Honolulu, and they can be within the distance of threatening continental United States. So by unlocking Taiwan down here, they can then use their nuclear submarine. So that's why their focus is so much on the submarine. Question, have you ever lived in China? Yeah, I have. I lived there till I was 11. Okay, so this is actually part of it's a really bad look for China, because Beijing has 48 diesel-powered attack subs, 6 nuclear-powered attack subs. That was at the end of 2022. They probably signed on for more now, but this latest case is the Zhou class vessel, which is the newest in their weapons. So this is the new class of Chinese nuclear-powered subs. Features a distinctive X-shaped stern, which is designed to make the vessel more maneuverable. Okay, so these were taken about a month apart. So this was in May, where they took the first photo you see here. And then this was on June 15th, which I believe these are recovery boats. That's why they have them in this photo here. So it might have happened sometimes in between. And according to Brent Sadler, who is an expert at the Heritage Foundation, says the sinking of nuclear subs that was produced at a new yard will slow China's plan to grow its nuclear submarines. Now, this happened literally about 24 hours or maybe 48 hours after China had just done something crazy, which is they tested their long-range missile. Okay, so they fired this intercontinental ballistic missile at a place pretty close to Hawaii, actually. It landed in international water. Obviously, when they do these tests, they're called tests, but in reality, it's a show of aggression, right? They did this during the UN too. So while all the countries were having a peace talk at the United Nations trying to stop wars, or at least pretend to be, China decided to launch an ICBM towards Hawaii, right? Parts of it also landed near the Philippines. And this is a message that really concerns people. Because if you think about what's going to happen to the United States, well, the United States is going to be like, okay, well, China's going to launch an ICBM. We better ramp up our defense production. Japan's going to look at this and be like, well, okay, China has the capability, so they're going to ramp up their defense. Taiwan's going to be like, okay, that's pretty scary. We got to do something. The Philippines is like, that's really scary. So all these countries and everybody else is watching this, right? The message that China's sending out, for one, is they're saying that they're capable of being aggressive towards the current, Western-led world order. But the second is they're also saying that, look, our rocket force, which has been purged, and all of their generals because of corruption, etc., that they still have a capability to do this. So they were trying to show off. And then immediately the next day, we get an article saying that their nuclear subs sank. So it's pretty ironic, pretty hilarious. Do you think China is facing a crisis of maintenance similar to what happened to the USSR and is happening to modern Russia? How reliable do you think are the Chinese equipments? So funny story, right? the reason why Xi Jinping wanted to launch that ICBM is because in the rocket force, there were talks of how they were using rocket fuel like kerosene or whatever they use for rocket fuel to cook hot pot. And because of inspections of the equipment, they filled the rockets with water. So there was a joke saying how they dug all night through all of these arsenals to find the one ICBM rocket that didn't have water within them. So it's pretty funny. But it's true. There's a lot of corruption within the Chinese military. So Xi Jinping because this order to fire the ICBM has to come from Xi Jinping, from the Central Military Commission, right? So they tested it, and they're like, okay, yeah, we got to show the world we still have the capability. Because it's like what Russia does all the time, right? Russia's like, we got nuclear weapons, so if the Ukrainians are trying to invade, if you guys try to attack Russia, we're going to send in the nuclear weapon. China's the same. China's like, yeah, look at us, we got nuclear weapon. You try to come at us for Taiwan, we got to use our nuclear weapon. So I don't know. It's pretty funny. Is it illegal to test ICBM missiles? No, it's not illegal. Well, I mean, if you're just talking about the nuclear treaties, because China's not within any nuclear treaty, right? The United States and Russia are in part of this nuclear treaty, which they basically say they have to reduce the number of nuclear missiles that they have, whereas China's not bound by it. And that's pretty interesting if you think about why China, the number one adversary to the free world, is not bound by a nuclear weapons treaty. That's pretty crazy to think about. Okay, so China launched this ICBM, and then what Japan did, it was really shocking. Japan, for the first time since World War II, sailed its destroyer warship across the Taiwan Strait. Okay, so here's Taiwan Strait. This is the Taiwan Strait. Okay, Japan is like, all right, you're going to launch an ICBM. Well, we have our routine military exercise in the South China Sea, so we're going to sail across this part of the water, which is, by the way, international water, to go through to the South China Sea. Okay, Japan has never done this since World War II, and they finally decided that we're going to do it. Because guess what? Japan is really fed up with what's been happening. They've been very aggressively mistreated by China. There's a hatred aspect to which I'll talk about next. But this is insane. This is how busy the Indo-Pacific has become. Germany too. Germany for a very long time, I think decades, did not do this. And then they did this too. So like all of these Axis power during World War II, like Italy is also a very anti-CCP nation in the European Union right now. So like you got the old Axis power, you got Italy, Germany, and Japan now doing a 180 and going around and being like, hey, by the way, we're going to be up against, we're anti-communism now. Now, obviously, Germany is still very much pro-China in terms of the economic side, as well as Japan as well. They rely on China, but it's still pretty interesting to see the dynamic change. Makuti.exe says, hi, where do you get reliable information regarding current situations in China? Do you search across multiple sources, or is there any particular one? Yeah, you just have to read a lot. Twitter, news sources, like different news, right? Some of them, sometimes you have to read state media. You have to read, so-called right-wing, left-wing media. You have to read a lot of different sources to understand where things are coming from. Biggie Man says, you should do a collab with Lao Wai and Serpenza. Yeah, maybe in the future. We just haven't reached out yet. Tanawat says, Italian Navy also came to refuel in Thailand recently, possibly to show strength in Taiwan Strait. Yeah, mark my words, within the next 5 years, the Taiwan Strait, Asia is going to be really, really busy. Really, really, really busy. It looks like it's time for a ground news plug. Exactly. Okay, so one of the reasons why China is, this way, feeling like this, is because recently there was a case of a 10-year-old boy in China who's Japanese, or half Japanese, half Chinese. He was unalived by this 44-year-old man. And the public opinion around this, obviously Japan is super tired of these cases because that was actually the third case of Japanese people being attacked in China in a very short amount of time, right? And then going up to December, which is the anniversary of the Nanking massacre, can we expect more of these cases to happen in China? In my view, definitely, right? So China has not stopped this type of hate crime against Japanese people. And this is the foreign minister of China telling Japan to deal with the situation calmly, saying that, yeah, you guys need to practice restraint. Imagine like, this is so crazy because this is what China teaches. Look at this video. So they're showing this propaganda film. All of the kids, these are probably elementary school kids, they have to bow down and remember the so-called shame from China, right? They teach you very young. This is the photo that showed the difference. So you got the Chinese kid wearing the PLA outfit and bomb satchels, and you have just regular Japanese kids, right? So these kids are indoctrinated from a very, very young age. And think about what happens when you're constantly taught this idea to hate Japan because all your trouble, all of your problems come from the Japanese people. So then when you get this guy who's the 44-year-old, maybe he's not doing so well, the economy is not doing too well. What's he gonna do? Yeah, he's gonna blame all his problems on Japan because he thinks that's the source of all his misery instead of the CCP, right? And so that's why China really wants to maintain this idea that there's hate against Japan all times. Yet this time it seems to have blown very much overboard. But this is not the end of it. This type of stuff is going to continue to happen. Annabelle Lee says, "Hey sir, I'm in the middle of an enlistment for the Marine Corps. Do you think we will have conflict with China soon?" I hope not. Genuinely, I hope there's no war. But it doesn't mean that things aren't looking so dangerous. And I think that's the reality. Maniac says, China's ICBM test is also mainly due to an India test of the Agni 5 missile, which covers entire Asia. Well, yeah, so look at what happened with India recently. Modi, right, the Prime Minister of India, and India as a whole, they've practiced this thing called non-alignment for a very long time. They've essentially tried to remain neutral, especially, trying to keep the balanced relationship between Russia, China, the United States, and so on. But what China, the CCP, has done over the few years since the border clash is they successfully pushed India towards the United States. Because, right, China's fighting against India to become the leader of the BRICS nations, the leader of the third world country or the global south, whatever term you want to use for it. And then China's also trying to aggressively insert their so-called territorial disputes in like Arunachal Pradesh, different areas of the border with China. So they're actively pushing India towards the United States, whether India likes it or not. So when you think of it that way, when India is increasing its own defense, obviously, naturally, China is going to do the same. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so one of the other reasons why I think this is very interesting is that think about what happened recently with, this was, again, talking about the submarine case. Last year, I covered this, which is, there was a case of a Type 93 nuclear submarine that sank near China, okay? Now, again, we heard nothing about this from the Chinese state media. We just got rumors online. What I think is the news story that we heard from the Wall Street Journal that the submarine sank basically confirms the story last year about the Type 93. Because on board, there were about 55 sailors who perished. I think it was due to like some sort of trap situation or oxygen depletion. And, obviously there's a lot of different rumors flying around where it had happened. I personally don't think it's the Yellow Sea because like you see in this topography here, it's a little too shallow. So it might have happened, near the Taiwan Strait or towards the South China Sea or something like that. But yeah, there was a Type 93 submarine, also a Chinese nuclear submarine that sank and 55 perished. And we heard nothing about that on the Chinese state media. So, question from, where is it? I just saw a question, now it went away. Oh, there we go. Paulding says, I'm new here, come across this. Are you pro-China or pro-Philippines? I'm definitely not pro-CCP. Kudos says, I read a few Chinese novels. They use the Sakura nation and defame Japan through it a lot. Even downright the main focus being serial nationalism, which mostly teens read. Yeah, everything is ingrained in the current modern Chinese culture as anti-Japan. Thanks from literally Ryan Gosling. I love the contents as always. Long live the true China. Thank you. All right. Phil K says that is why I'm disgusted about China. I've been to China and went for their local tour. They played videos of the Nanking massacre throughout the entire trip and ride. I was so sick of it. Yeah. Aya says, watching you from Arunachal Pradesh. Wow, that's interesting. Mohammed Hassan says, hi David, I'm Hassan from Pakistan. What do you think of China-Pakistan economic corridor and Chinese investment under this initiative? Is it a debt trap or a golden opportunity? I think it's a debt trap in the long run, but the attractiveness is how it's presented as a golden opportunity right now. They aren't sailors anymore, they're fish food? Yeah, exactly. What do you think about the Dutch warship sailing in the Taiwan Strait? I think a lot of these countries are doing this because they want to show support. They may not have a lot of military strength and might to go up against the CCP, but at least they can show like a support from sort of a formality perspective, right? Okay, so to end off this story, I think it's worth talking about what's happening in the Chinese economy. So China just revealed a massive stimulus package. And this is a, sorry, there's a little fly in my room there. This package comes at a time where China basically since earlier this year says that they won't do stimulus. They won't do massive stimulus because that's obviously not good for the economy. But now it seems like they finally give in to boost the economy with a stimulus. Now this is gonna, in my view, very temporary because this is not gonna solve the issues, right? They're trying to throw trillions of dollars into a bottomless hole that is the real estate market, and that is not going to solve anything to do with consumer confidence. It did, however, boost the, I thought I had a tweet going up, but it did increase, maybe I don't have the tweet. I thought I did, but it did increase the stock market. Maybe I can look at here. Nikkei Hansen, oh yeah, there we go, right here. So take a look at the stock market. So Hansen Index is up. Look at that. So it is up from a few days ago, or actually it's, what is this, 1 day, 5 days? Yeah, so it's up from the 24th, which is here on the short stream, I'll show you. So this is the 24th here, which is very low, about 18,000 points. And it went up to 1990, almost 20,000 points. So it did go up. Let's see if there's the Shanghai Index. Let's look at Shanghai Index. Composite Index as well. Look at that. So 5 days trend. It was down to 2,700 points. Now it's back to about 3,000 points. So the stimulus did work a little bit. Like I said, it's going to be a temporary boost. But you're throwing like wads of cash at a bottomless pit that is the Chinese economy. You're never going to solve consumer confidence because that's number one. You're never going to solve the issue of people not wanting to spend money because you're not giving them an environment to. You're never going to solve the issue of private enterprises not wanting to create because there's no environment for it. You can't stop the foreign companies withdrawing from China, right? Japanese companies are leaving because of the latest case, American companies as well. So you're not stopping some of these fundamental issues by just throwing money at it, but they have no other choice because this is, again, a command from Xi Jinping saying that we got to stop something. But that's all they can do. Stimulus, they've done this in the past when things were still okay, but the current conditions are just simply not favorable for them. So yeah, I don't see where things can get much better. We got Chinese stimulus check before GTA 6. Misery loves company, exactly. MP Gunther says, love your content, thank you very much. Hello from India. China's foreign minister for India, you mean ambassador, said India should start trading with China more and should not let USA intervene in their mutual relationship. What do you think? I think it's up to the Indian government to figure out what's the best for the country. You know, if they think that going forward it's to be more closer to China, then that's their choice. But I just don't see how Chinese aggression have done any benefit to try to capture the Indians since, you know, the border clash of 2020. So I really don't think the Indians are so dumb to the point where they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go back to China, when they already figured out the real intentions of the CCP is to undermine the Indian global influence, right? So I think that aspect is already looking pretty solid from the Indian side. I think the Indians have shown through their actions who they want to align more with today than ever before. So I think that's already settled. G Bro says top 10 successful communist countries. Thank you for watching. Going out for some formaldehyde carrots. Y'all need anything? You need Melamin's baby formula. Pushkar says, watch all your sources from India, Uttar Pradesh. Thank you very much. All right, well, that's it for today's stream then. I think we've covered everything we needed to. Thank you guys for tuning into the shorts.